Hey everybody, this is Dr. Drew Rubin from Cairo Secure, bringing you another webinar. This is part two of Disruptive Pediatrics, Hemisphericity and Lateralization. So last time we spoke about like some of the early understanding of what's going on with hemisphericity and lateralization. Today we're going to take it to the next level, talking about more clinical applications. Let's go to the slides, please. And here we go. How do we apply hemisphericity into our practices? So I always have to give deference to Dr. Robert Malillo, who has been one of my teachers and mentors over the years regarding kids with neurodevelopmental and neurobehavioral issues. This book, when I first read it back in maybe 2008, 2009, like shifted everything. So I give Dr. Miller a lot of credit because after this book, I went to two of his seminar series, and it really has completely blown away how I work with kiddos. I recommend this book very highly if you want to study this kind of stuff. The third edition just came out. So in that book, he talks about a radical concept back then, and less radical now, but it was a radical concept back then, which is that each brain, each side of the brain has its own sort of powers. And if you have deficiencies in one side of the brain or the other, you're going to see more issues of a certain kind based upon what side is being deficient. So, as an example, right brain deficiency. So, a kiddo with a right brain deficiency is going to show more like Asperger's, which is no longer used, but autism, ADHD, Tourette syndrome, OCD, these kind of things. Those people have a bit more right brain deficiencies. So it's the ADHD, and just as a blanket thing, it's ADHDs and autisms. Those are the big ones. The left brain deficiencies are a different sort of issue going on with them because the left brain functions differently than the right brain. So people with the left brain deficiency, you'll see a lot of people with anorexia, eating disorders, processing disorders, dyspraxia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, which is like math issues, because that's a left brain deficiency. And it makes sense if you think about it. A person, like if you think about what the right brain is more like the creative, social side of things, and the left brain is more of the mathematical, calculating kind of thing. So it makes sense where you're going to have an issue as to what side of the brain is going to be deficient. But the key thing, and that he's been doing research on for years now, which is why he named it that book, the original book, The Disconnected Kids. The key thing is that these issues, when we see issues in kids with ADHD, with autism, with learning disorders, with dyslexia, etc., what's going on is there's a functional disconnectivity. There's a functional disconnectivity. And this is a relatively recent paper by Dr. Malillo and his son, Tatai, who also graduated from chiropractic school, and Dr. Leisman, who's a researcher. And this, if you want to read one paper this year, if you're not a paper reader, but you want to read one paper, this is the paper to read. Because what this talks about is the prefrontal functional connectivity is an autism spectrum disorder and how it all connects to each other. So this is the main issue that comes out of that. Autism as a primary sensory perception and motor control dysfunction. The core issues related to ASD, which is autism spectrum, and its repetitive stereotypical behaviors, verbal and nonverbal deficits, and especially socialization and attachment deficits, are primarily related to a deficit of development of the right hemisphere networks, which we talked about before, right? The right brain is being deficient in these kiddos. And that is, I'll tell you, it's a big difference than what a lot of people are saying, because a lot of people are saying, let's say, especially kids with nonverbal autism who have a Broca's area issues on the left-hand side. So they're saying, what's a left issue? What Dr. Malillo is saying is, no, it's actually a right-handed issue because these deficits are brain stimulated through the retained RPOs, retained primitive reflexes, which alter early movement and skew sensory perceptual feedback. This bottom-up interference impacts right brain development, which commences in utero and continues over the first 3 years of life. The left hemisphere networks that underlie verbal, like Broca's, motor, and some behavioral, emotional behaviors come online too early and inhibit the development of the same nonverbal sensory and emotional networks contralaterally in the right hemisphere. Then listen to this. We propose that ASD is not principally a cognitive or intellectual deficit at its core. And this is huge because if you think about it, so many kiddos with autism are doing like ABA therapy because they're saying it's a behavioral issue, it's a cognitive issue, it's an intellectual issue. But what Dr. Malillo is saying is the primary language deficit we hypothesize to be a nonverbal communication deficit that commences in the right hemisphere networks in the cortical regions equivalent to Wernicke's and Broca's in the left. This is a brilliant rethinking about what's going on with a child with autism, especially. I know he and we really take care of a lot of kiddos who are nonverbal or minimally speaking children with autism and adults with autism. And it is not the left side is not the biggest problem. Actually, what's happening with a lot of these people with autism is they have super duper strong left sides, which is why they're very analytical. They're very mathematical. You remember Rain Man, where in that one amazing movie with Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise, where he was able to count cards. Very handy in blackjack. Not very ethical, but very handy in blackjack. But that's the key: is that's the left brain dominance. But he was socially inefficient. He could not do things socially, Rain Man. That's a true story, actually. It wasn't, they dramatized it, but it was actually a true story. So what's going on is these Broca's areas, we used to think of Broca's areas, and Mercury's, that's a left-hand thing. No, it's not. There's actually similar areas on the right-hand side, but they are dealing with more of the nonverbals. And why is that important? Because in order for the brain to speak a word, in order for the brain to understand a heard word, you need both sides of the brain. You need both sides of the brain. And in a split brain patient, the images shown to the left side, when they've split the corpus callosum, images shown to the left side are unable to be spoken because the right side of the brain does not have the same language capacities as the left side of the brain. But it's the right. But the key is, though, that the right side of the brain knew what the thing was. So images shown to the left side can be drawn because they do know what it is. They just can't say it. Right. So this kind of proves what we've been talking about in the first episode when we talked about lateralization, that this is not a myth. This is a big thing. I see a lot of people say that's just a myth. And there's a thing as left and right brain. The entire brain does everything, and you need. Of course, the whole brain is important. The whole brain is necessary to do everything. But the left side and the right side have different tasks. And as we showed last time in the first episode about brain lateralization, that the reason that we have this specialization is to make us so unique and special among all the other animals on this planet. So in minimally speaking autism, a child can see and hear the words, but may not be able to say them because they can see the words, they can hear the words, but they can't say them because this is what Dr. Melillo will call a primary sensory perception and motor control dysfunction. So they can see it, they can hear it, but they can't get their motor system to be working. Another amazing paper that he wrote several years ago was Taking Sides, Asymmetries in the Evolution of Human Brain in Better Understanding of Autism. And what he says there is a sensory perception dysfunction causes delay in the development of body ownership and self-awareness, being associated with deficits in the ability to move and control the motor planning necessary for speech and language. So in other words, if you have a sensory perception dysfunction, in other words, you can't feel, you can't move. Let's put it really simple. You can't feel, you can't move, right? And that's why so many of these kids, not only do they have a speech issue, a lot of these kiddos with autism who are minimally speaking, not only do they have speech issues, they also have food eating issues. They have issues with chewing certain foods, which is why they gravitate towards simple foods and soft foods like chicken nuggets, right? And pizza and French fries and those kind of things, and mac and cheese. So ultimately, what I want to talk to you guys about is we need to take care of more of these kiddos, because if we can see more of these kiddos with these brain dysfunctions and help what we say reconnect these disconnections, then we can make some amazing changes. I speak for the ICPA. I'm doing, as a matter of fact, in a few weeks on the 26th, of April, I'm doing a pediatric midline defect thing, talking about tongue ties and stuff like that. And we're also doing another one in December in case you missed that one. And every couple of months, I'm somewhere. I'll be in Daytona. I'll be in Denver. I'll be in Madison. I'm all over the place. I'll be at Life University. So I would love to see you guys. If you really want to understand how to take care of these kiddos, I'm here for you. We have over 600 episodes on my Caracast podcast. I would love to hear your thoughts about this. Please check it out. It's on every major podcast thing you can do: iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, SoundCloud. And ultimately, our job is to protect more kiddos. And if we can adjust more kiddos, that's right, protect our future and adjust more kiddos. I want to say thank you so much to ChiroSecure for having me. I love that ChiroSecure is always there for us. Just as an example, the other day I got this weird fax from a lawyer asking for notes from a patient I haven't seen in 10 years. And the patient was suing some other people, and I didn't know what to do. I called ChiroSecure and they led me through this. So I really appreciate their help. It was one phone call away and they were there for us. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you next time on Disruptive Pediatrics.
Today's Pediatrics show, Look to the Children, was brought to you by Secure.